Welcome to Too Deep, Hokies Under the Influence. And it is Virginia Tech. This isn't some rinky-dink-ass program.
Come on, JC.
We're going to put this old guy in the grade. We'll go over some of the stats really there. 60%, 11.
It's an 11 game.
Welcome to Too Deep, Hokies Under the Influence, a Sons of Saturday podcast. I'm your host, Pete B. I've got my co-host here, Sam Jesse. And we've been talking about tonight's podcast for a couple weeks, Sam. I keep promising the listeners we're going to talk about our ACC opponents, whether they like it or not. They're getting it tonight. This is the night we're going to do it. We're going to hop in after a couple news and notes, but we're going to start everything with a cheers from Sam.
Boy, fall camp underway. We have boots on the ground as well. It has just been a really fun start to camp. I'm really happy with the stuff that Ryan is doing. He is our football beat reporter, Ryan Castle. He played football, offensive lineman, Christopher Newport. So he knows some ball. He's done a great job so far. So go check out his stuff. We are just like, it is football season now, Pete. Like it is. We have preseason games going on. The boys are in pads at fall camp. We're doing our final previews of the offseason. Cheers, buddy. We made it.
Cheers, man.
Longest offseason in major American sports.
And it was extra long for the Hokies with the way last season went. The only news and notes I have, a couple housekeeping things I'll do in 1 second, but I'm going to put up this coaches poll, Sam. This is how you know the season is here. The coaches are always the first one to put out the poll. I'm going to give you first crack at the reaction here. What stood out to you when you saw this poll?
Yeah, 4 of the teams from 20 to 24 are Big 12 teams. That's just hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that coaches have no idea what to do with that conference, and I don't either. I think 1, 2, 3 makes a lot of sense. I think it's hard to argue that. I think Penn State might have an argument to be ahead of Ohio State this year, but I'm curious how much effort these coaches put into it. This seems like an amalgamation of all of the like Athlon, Lindy's, Pick Six previews. If you were to like average them all out, I feel like this is the top 25 you would get. BYU being up there without Retzloff was really weird to me. Michigan being all the way up at 14 with a true freshman quarterback having to replace all of their offensive weapons. That one was interesting as well. Everything else makes a lot of sense.
Well, obviously South Carolina stands out, not because it's different than what we've seen in other polls, but it's exactly where they've been in every other poll. But this is a real poll. This is the coaches poll. This isn't a magazine. This is, publicized everywhere. And they are number 13. And so maybe it's too high for some of the stuff we talked about with regard to their defense, or maybe it's dead on. What stood out to me, we'll get to the ACC in a second, but Florida at 17 with a lot of question marks. They're ahead of Tennessee, which I know they lost Nico, but Tennessee was in the playoff last year. Like Napier has yet to prove that he can do anything without DJ Lagway in the lineup. And DJ Lagway isn't always in the lineup.
Yeah. And he's been in a boot a little bit this fall as well. I say fall camp, we're in August, but yeah, that's an interesting one. I think South Carolina at 13, Ole Miss at 15, Florida at 17, Tennessee 18, Texas A&M 21. History tells us that 2 or 3 of those teams are going to have really good seasons, and that the other 2 or 3 are going to have really bad seasons. There's always that cluster of SEC teams in the middle of the top 25. Curious to see which half of those teams falls completely off this board.
Yeah,
and
someone's finishing
the playoff,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 of those teams could make the playoff, and 2 could finish unranked.
Yeah.
ACC, Clemson is number 6. Miami number 10 and SMU number 16. Yeah. I thought Miami was a little higher than I thought they'd be in the initial poll, but the Canes, as the season gets closer, they tend to get moved up the polls a bit. So 10 matches some of the other preseason publications, which we will talk about Miami a little bit later tonight. But just 3 ACC teams ranked, another Tech opponent in South Carolina. And then you'll also see ACC adjacent Notre Dame at number 5. So you've got Texas 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 3, Georgia 4, and Notre Dame 5. A lot of last year's playoff teams right there in that top 5.
I think there's a strong line of demarcation between number 10 and number 11 for teams that could compete for a national title, in my mind.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If Arizona State runs it back, Kenny Dillingham needs a statue and a lifetime contract, and he's done. But I think there's that line of blue chip talent that you can see right there between 10 and 11. I would not be surprised if that top 10 looks a lot like the top 10 at the end of the season, just mixed around a bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that because Arizona State it's perfect. That cutoff at 10 to 11, you're right, because they have to repeat without Scadaboo. That's tough. And behind them is Illinois, South Carolina, Michigan. So it starts to get really unknown. But those top 10, there's a lot of power there, a lot of talent there. And you're right, just about any one of them, you wouldn't be surprised if they won the Natty. Let's move on to what we got going on down in Atlanta. Saturday in the South, 3 to 6 p.m., Bar Tab. You can get your tickets on sonsofsaturday.com. That's our event, Saturday in the South, taking place at the Park Tavern in Atlanta the day before the game. So all day, when all that good football's on, we're going to be partying. Just last week, Billy was putting the pieces together with Mahul and TechStream for this day of tailgate. That's at Der Biergarten. My German pronunciation, Sam, aren't so good, but it's a beer garden. It's right near the stadium. From 10 to 2, all you can eat, all you can drink, $80 for a drinking ticket, $65 for a non-drinking ticket. That information is on X, on the Suns' Instagram, link in the bio. You know the whole 9 yards. Get your tickets for the beer garden. That is going to be a fun day. And it's an easy transition right to the game, right, Sam?
Yeah, it's literally next door. And 4 hours of open food and open bar for $80. It's pretty hard to beat in downtown Atlanta. So, yeah, having all those events, really, really excited for that weekend, man. It's like so many people have worked hard scheduling that stuff, and it's awesome to see the interest year after year after year with that.
Yeah, and shout out to TechStream and Mahul for putting that on, because I don't think they're necessarily making any money on the event. They're probably losing money on the event, but this was to make sure the Hokies had a place to go and had a fun time in Atlanta. So that's awesome that we're kind of partnering up with them and getting that to you guys. So sign up for that. Links are online. Make sure to like and subscribe the video if you're following along. And Sam, I think we should tear right into NC State here. We might talk a little bit about where Tech is coming in at a little bit later, but you guys have heard that, you know about Tech, all that good stuff. So NC State, September 27th, it's our first ACC game. FPI 57, SP plus 42. That's their highest of the four things I gathered. Athlon 54 and Lindy's 49. So average those out, you got NC State right around 50th in the country. And what is the thing that you've been saying about NC State all off season, Sam?
They're right next to Virginia Tech and everything. I saw another 2 today. Whether it's whatever ranking or metric or graph or whatever you want to put up there, Virginia Tech and NC State are the best of buds. They are right next to each other. It's kind of crazy. I have Athlon open right next to you on my left-hand side. NC State number 54, Virginia Tech number 55. I mean, these teams are mirror images of each other.
That is so funny. And in Lindy's, it's 49 and 50.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
So at ACC kickoff, they had 4 players: CJ Bailey, their quarterback, Brandon Cleveland, defensive tackle, Camden Fordham, a linebacker, and Justin Jolly, their stud tight end. They're coached by Dave Doran. He has been there, what is it, like 12 years now, Sam? I think it's 12
He's been
years.
there 14 years.
Oh, my God. No.
This is year 15 for Dave Doran.
Oh, my God. So that's 87 and 65 at NC State, under 500 in the ACC.
Hand up. We're reading the wrong thing. This is his year. This is year 13 at NC State.
He's been 12 years. Okay. 14 years. We're on there. It's a weird spot for him, though, right? Coming into this year, because after some years of overachieving, last year was underachieving.
Yeah. And it's weird because that's a fan base that I think expects more than what they've ever had in a good way, right? They want to get better, but it does seem like he's punching up against a concrete ceiling. And I really don't know if this is going to be the team to get them to that elusive 10-win mark that they've only had once. That was with Phillip Rivers. I don't think it's this team. Sorry, Wolfpack fans.
So they have a new OC. Kurt Roper is promoted from QB coach. It has been 8 years since Roper called plays. He has an up-tempo approach historically. But it's interesting that the guy that has just failed to capitalize on 2 really good quarterback transfers is now the OC. It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Brendan Armstrong was supposed to be like fringe Heisman candidate
Mm-hmm.
when he went to NC State, and he was a dud. And Grayson McCall went there, and he was a dud, then had the really nasty injury. But before he got injured, he was a dud. Now you have CJ Bailey, who was highly recruited, a lot of hype. And I think the potential is still there, but there are some glaring issues with his game. And they need him to take a massive step forward, because I don't think the weapons around him are quite what they were last year and what they need to be. They did lose their best pass catcher in Casey Concepcion, who transferred to Texas A&M.
Yeah, their best pass catcher is probably Jolly, and we'll talk a little bit more about the offense in a second. I did want to mention that the DC is also new. So Tony Gibson leaves from Marshall to be the head guy. DJ Elliott comes in. He was a linebacker coach with my Philadelphia Eagles last year. And so whether it was Zach Bond or Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Nakobe Dean, we had a lot of fun linebackers. That's the guy who's going to be taking over for Tony Gibson. So he was a DC at Kentucky, Colorado, Kansas. I mean, he's been around. Like he was around before he went to the NFL.
Yeah. Interesting coaching career for him.
For sure. All right. So they didn't beat anybody good last year. They lost to Wake, and then they went and lost the bowl game to ECU. So not the best year in state, but they typically take care of the Tar Heels, and they did do that. Barely beat Louisiana Tech early in the year. I don't know if you remember that. Barely beat NIU. They lost to GT by 1, but they beat Cal by 1. So that kind of evens itself out. The offense under CJ Bailey was better. And he is a tall quarterback, but not a particularly like beefy quarterback. Mm-hmm. I thought he played pretty well, though, if you look at his overall numbers.
Yeah, I did too. I think he's a good player. He's a good quarterback. There doesn't seem to be that, like, we haven't seen that elite upside that he was recruited at. He does have some playmaking ability. His overall numbers aren't bad, but when he played better defenses, really struggled. He went 16 for 39 when they played Duke. He went 17 of 30 when they played Georgia Tech. Overall in the season, he was sacked 23 times.
It's a lot. That's a lot of sacks because he didn't play the entire season. He took 6 sacks against Cal alone.
Yeah, that's not great.
But his QBR was 8th in the conference, which is respectable. 144 passer rating, respectable. The weapons, maybe like you said, not quite as good. I don't know. The wide receivers, it's they got guys back.
I think they got guys.
Yeah,
it's
guys. Not like they're blowing your socks off. Hollywood Smothers at running back. He could have a really big year. 571 last year.
What a name.
That name, with a name like Smothers, Sam.
Gosh.
It has to be good. All right, 6.42 yards per carry for him, 19 receptions and 263 yards on top of the 571, 8 total touchdowns. So he will factor in big time, especially since Kendrick Raphael left for Cal and takes his 400 yards with him. So it's the Justin Jolly and Hollywood Smothers show. You're going to get some Noah Rogers, some Wesley Grimes, some Keenan Jackson. They're all back. But up front, they were bad last year on the offensive line, 119th in tackles for loss allowed. Does that improve? Because that's a huge question.
I mean, they kind of need it to. I don't know if it does. I think what you're hoping for is that CJ Bailey's pocket presence improves, right? I think that's a way to make your offensive line look a little bit better. I have 2 big issues with this team. Well, 3, but my 2 big ones is CJ Bailey's accuracy. Like, sometimes he looks really inaccurate. Like that Syracuse game, he didn't have a bad stat line, but he missed some wide open wide receivers in clutch situations. And then to move over to the defensive side, their defensive secondary is thin. It is not great. They are relying a lot on like FCS transfers. I have a little bit of worry on the back end of their defense as well.
It's a full makeover at DB. Like it's 5 new starters. Devin Marshall's back, but I don't think he started last year. The linebacker is still in great shape. I feel like NC State has had good linebackers for a number of years, despite losing some studs we've heard over the years. But they got Fordham and Brown back. Sean Brown was their leading tackler last year, and he had 13 hurries last year from the linebacking position. At defensive line, there's no more Davin Van, which I am ecstatic about, or Devin Beatty, and they had 23 total TFL last year. Travali Price is back. Brandon Cleveland is back. As I said, he was at ACC Media Day, and has a couple solid transfers coming from the Mountain West. I also noticed a guy named Trey Thomas on the team from Temple.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles fans will remember the name Trey Thomas because he was a stud left tackle for us when Donovan McNabb played. And since he's from Temple, I'm like, oh, this has to be Trey Thomas's son that's now transferred to NC State. No, it's a kid from Philly named after Trey Thomas.
That's awesome, though. I do love that.
That's in his bio, named after Trey Thomas.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a fine defense. I mean, they have that culture built there, right, of good defensive play, but they're really young on the defensive secondary. And that kind of worries me as well. They're going to be relying on some redshirt freshmen. They're going to be relying, I mean, they're too deep, but their too deep has true and redshirt freshmen in it. Like, I don't know. I'm just a little bit worried that this is going to be much of the same for NC State.
Let's go to the matchup because it's in Raleigh. Doran isn't the best coach in the world. We know that. We've been over that. But he is 2-0 against Pry. And VT is 2-2 against Dave Doran overall. We had a streak of 5 straight wins against NC State before the 1-point loss in 2022. Remember, we went down there. That was the last game in Raleigh, and we had the lead. I think we were 21-0, right? And our team was doing terrible that year. We get out to this big lead. It was a night game, and we end up losing the game by 1. But even though this is a road game, I don't think NC State's that good. I think this is a winnable game.
I think it's a very winnable game. And first off, like Tech is due to be NC State. Every time Tech loses, I feel like it's a really close loss. I remember like the Brandon Pace missed field goal wide left when I was
dude, I was at that game. That still kills me.
I mean, if they would have played last year and NC State would have beat Tech, it would have been their best win by far. Last year, their wins came against Western Carolina, Louisiana Tech by 10, Northern Illinois by 7, Cal by 1. They whipped up on Stanford and they beat North Carolina by 5. I mean, their best win last year was at Cal by 1 point.
Yeah.
This team hasn't had a big win in a while. I guess Carolina is as their rival counts as a big win.
Yeah, they take care of business in that one, like I said. But
I think
the offense will be
winnable game.
The offense will be better than their defense because Jolly is very good, because Smothers is good, because they have enough weapons to scare you. And if CJ Bailey takes the next step, they could have a very efficient offense. Mm-hmm. But I don't think either coordinator choice is that great. Especially at DC. I know he's my Eagles guy, but like, he hasn't coached in college recently, and he was never that great when he was coaching in college. So they're going to be susceptible, especially at DB. I don't think their lines of scrimmage are very good. If our pass rush gets after Bailey and kind of hits that skinny frame, I expect our offense to score. And I hope this is a nooner. I don't want NC State to get a 3:30 or a late start for this. If it's a nooner and we go down there with our lines of scrimmage and what I expect from them, I think we get the W.
I think so too. Like, I think this is one that I feel like Tech is due for a win at Raleigh. I also, looking at NC State's schedule before they play the Hokies, they have a rivalry game to start the season with ECU. Then they play Virginia in a non-conference game. That's weird. Travel to Wake Forest. That should be a win for them. And then they travel to Duke and then play Virginia Tech. The 2 weeks before this game for the Hokies, they play Old Dominion and Wofford.
Yeah. It should be feeling all right going down here. And it's nice that like this Tech and NC State next to each other. It's our first ACC game. Like, we will find out about this team.
Yes.
If we haven't already in the ACC against the Wolfpack. So I'm looking forward to that. Before we get to our next
home. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, could be a loser goes home game.
Yeah, right. Loser leaves town.
Yep.
I hope it's not a loser leaves town. I hope it's a winner that leaves town in the Hokies. Yep. All right. Too Deep, Hokies on the Influence is brought to you by Roback. I wanted to get to this early in the show because you guys want to hear about this. Roback put out a new drop. Sam's got the quarter zip on right now, which looks stunning. But they put out something called the Sandman. Yes, a Metallica-themed new polo. You can get 20% off using code 2DEEPVT. You guys know the code. It's 2DEEPVT. But the Sandman is cool. It's got the hourglass. It's got a lightning bolt on there as well.
So it has the hourglass. It has James Hetfield's guitar, like the very distinct shape of his guitar. Looks really cool.
Yeah, I put
one
it
of
on
my favorite
Instagram.
designs they've put out.
Yeah, it's sweet, and I love the ones with the white background. I think they really pop. And so make sure to go to roback.com, load up your cart, grab your wife something, grab your significant other something while you're there as well. They got tons of colleges. If they happen to go to somewhere else other than Virginia Tech or don't like Metallica, grab a different shirt because they got the Hokie tracks. They got the game day polo, tons of good stuff. Use code 2DVT for 20% off. Roback Crave Activity. We're going to do a beer break and a couple more teams, Sam, but Wake Forest. This is homecoming for us on October 4th. I am going to this game with a handful of old friends, going to bring the whole crew down to Blacksburg. And the reason I want to go to this game is because it's one of the more likely wins. It's not a surefire win, but it's one of the more likely wins on the schedule.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think getting Wake Forest in the first half of the season is really good for the Hokies because they have so much new in that program. I mean, they're going from a stalwart head coach in Clausen to Jake Dickert, who is having to basically reinvent this program from the ground up. I mean, Wake Forest was so far behind in the NIL space, so far behind in recruiting. Schematically, I'm curious to see what they do. This is the
You're
DeMond
going to know
Claiborne
more
show.
about that than anybody else because you pay attention to some of that stuff that goes up on the West Coast.
Here's an issue. Robbie Ashford is not as good as John Mateer, and it's not even particularly close.
Yeah, so Robbie Ashford is the kid that was at South Carolina as the backup to Lenore Sellers and had to play a little bit. And now he's the projected starter for Jake Dickert. But let me give the lay of the land, Sam. FPI, Wake Forest, 89. SP Plus, 81. Athlon 80. That's a lot of 80s. I'm liking what I'm hearing. Lindy's has them at 68. So they are the highest of all of those projections. They didn't lose anything to the NFL. Their returning production is right down the middle, 65th in college football. 2 returning starters on O and between 3 and 5 on D. So not a ton of starting experience back, but an okay amount of returning production. In the portal, though, Sam, they kind of got crushed. And this is a theme with Wake Forest. They were 65th out of 70 teams in On3's portal rankings.
Yeah, I actually, in my adjusted portal rankings, I try to look at who goes out and who goes in. I have them at 77 in the country. Like they brought some guys from Washington State, but I just don't think, I don't trust them to have more than one playmaker at each position group.
Yeah.
I don't think they have more than one guy who can hurt you at wide receiver. I don't think they have more than one ball carrier. I don't think they have more than one pass rusher. I feel like they're just going to be an easy team to scheme around. And that might be their biggest issue this year.
If you want to find the studs on this team, just look at who went to ACC kickoff because it was Nick Anderson, a name we should be familiar with from a few years ago. Didn't he have 3 interceptions in a game?
Yeah. I think I stopped counting after 3. I don't know how many else he had.
DeMond Claiborne, he's their stud running back, best player on the team, I would have to say, by maybe a significant margin. Then you've got Devin Kalani, the offensive lineman from Washington. He's one of the transfers. And then Devon Patterson, the redshirt sophomore defensive back. So Dave Clausen and this team, just 2 years ago, remember where Dave Clausen was? He was turning down job opportunities other places. And then after 11 seasons last year, he decides to step down. It quickly went from ACC title game appearance to gone.
I have my Dave Clausen takes. I'm sure he's a great guy. I think that they absolutely needed a change or else they were in some big time trouble. They made that change. I don't know how many years it's going to take to get to the developmental level that they need to be at. I don't think it'll be this year. Luckily, they have a pretty easy start to the schedule with Kennesaw State and Western Carolina. But after that, they go NC State, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and then they travel all the way to play at Oregon State. And then they have SMU, and then they travel to Tallahassee. They have one of those schedules that if you look at schedule rankings is easy. And then you actually look at their schedule and it's kind of brutal.
Yeah, well, it's brutal from some weird aspects. But if you look at just the rating of it, it's an easy schedule. It's one of the easiest in Power 5, but there is some weirdness there. One of the problems for Wake Forest, since they lost the pretty boy to the Commanders, he went to Notre Dame and then he went, he got drafted. They have not found a quarterback. And Bachmeier was not the solution last year, as expected. We talked about him before the season.
It's awful.
And so now they're doing it with Robbie Ashford. And they were 107th in yards per play last year. Damon Claiborne can help you out. And Micah Mays comes back at wide receiver, who was solid as a freshman last year. But the other wide receivers are mostly transfers. Ashford's never shown to be a great passer. He does rush the ball well. So will this be like more of a power spread option look?
I think it kind of has to be. I don't see something that'll work for them other than that. And like Claiborne has to get 25 touches a game. I mean, he has to be the guy on offense. And like you said, with the transfers, and we talked about the rest of their class, they needed to bring in a lot of guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They got them from Colorado State, Idaho, Western Kentucky, South Alabama, NC-A&T, North Alabama. Like, I feel like this team might, talent-wise, be a little bit like Brent Pry's first team, where there's a lot of guys out there where you're like, oh, that's not an ACC football player.
Yeah. Turning over to defense, 97th in yards per play allowed last year. Washington State last year, I'm going to do this because Dickert was the coach, 113th. So it's not looking too good on the defensive side of the ball, despite transfers that come in, despite Nick Anderson being back for however many years this is. Because Anderson did lead the team in tackles, 122 tackles in 12 games. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like that is.
They got some dudes. They do have some dudes. Like
Devon Patterson at safety is good.
I think they could. What's crazy is I think they could be somewhat improved from last year and go like 4-8.
Yeah. The line on defense is bad. I mean, they lost a lot off that defensive line. Davis, Pointer, Gaines, and Cody, like they lost all those guys, along with Combs too from the linebacking core. So they're replacing a ton, but Hazen is back, Patterson is back, and Anderson is back. That's your defense. Like that's who you need to make all of the tackles. And Anderson might go for 144 this year.
Yeah. I mean, Tech should run for 250 plus on this team, to be honest with you. I think there is a clear, if you're talking about the matchup with the Hokies, I think there's a clear mismatch between what Virginia Tech will be able to do running the ball and Wake Forest's ability to stop the run.
I think their defense could be one of the 10 worst in Power 5.
Yes. In Power 5, yeah.
Because you're talking like 60 something. Like there's 70 power teams if you include the Pac-2. And so you're in that 60 to 70 range there. Kyron in the run game should do damage. That's exactly what I wrote down. I agree with you there. They're going to rely heavily on Claiborne, but otherwise I'm not concerned about Ashford or the other weapons. So at home, let's win this game easily. Hopefully a 2-touchdown-ish 10-point victory, maybe more. I mean, I'm just not trying to be too cocky here, Sam. We had a rough year last year.
I could see something similar to what we saw in the game with Boston College.
Yeah, where we come out and we're just like mowing people down. And even though it got a little scary for a second there, we end up prevailing by a couple scores. Let's move to Georgia Tech. 10-11 in Bobby Dodd. That's October 11th down there in Atlanta. Our second game in Atlanta of the season. We should be familiar with the hotel situation, I would presume, but Georgia Tech comes in FPI number 28, SP plus 44, Athlon 35, and Lindy's 41. So you want to give that an average, that's around 40. 40th in the country for Georgia Tech, which I think the opinions on this team, I think vary quite a bit.
And you got to be honest, like internally with me, they vary a lot of bit too. Like I'm a lot of bit's not it. Like that's how confused I am. Like there are some parts of this team that I really, really like. And then there are some parts that I'm like, oh, that's kind of a glaring issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they lost. Their portal ranking is terrible. They were 62 in the net portal rating. Singleton leaving for Auburn, obviously a huge loss, as well as their tackle Robinson leaving. But they did pick up the cornerback Mitchell from Penn State, and Rivers and Hosley at running back. So it wasn't all bad, but 62 out of 70 in the portal rating, it's not good.
I have them all the way down at 72.
And that's over all of FBS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but beyond middle of the pack for them. Their best unit, Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, a couple options at wide receiver. I mean, if you look at Athlon, their entire offense is top 5 in the ACC at every position.
Yeah, and it's weird too because I don't think there's a pass catcher on this team that really stands out to you.
Besides Jamal Haynes.
Besides Jamal Haynes, right? Like he's very similar to Claiborne. Like he's got to be their guy. They're relying on him to be their guy. Something interesting stat-wise I found about Georgia Tech. You ready for this one? This one cuts deep.
I'm ready.
28% of their explosive pass plays came to the tight end. That was 3rd in the country. 3rd highest rate in the country. They lost their top 2 tight ends.
Yeah, they got 2 new transfers in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or no, one is a transfer and Seether is back from an injury.
Yes, Seether is back from an injury. I don't believe he played last year.
He did not, no.
Okay. Combine that with losing both of your tackles, the ends of the line of scrimmage, and then losing that play action to the tight end. Not losing it, but probably not going to be 3rd best in the country in it. That's, for me, a little bit worrisome for this team who liked to win close games last year.
Or it's an opportunity to draft JT Byrne in your fantasy college fantasy draft.
Maybe it's all
he's
scheme.
The guy. But I mean, let's talk about Haynes King here because to me, he's the best quarterback in the ACC. Yes, I think if given the same team, he is better than Cade Klubnik. That's how good. He had a better QBR than Cade Klubnik, and he played better against Georgia. I said this with Robert Irby 2 months ago, but he had the 9th best QBR in the country last year, 2nd in the ACC behind only Cam Ward, a 154 passer rating in a year when he was banged up. You also want to know how many sacks he took last year, Sam?
How many?
6.
That's crazy.
6.
That's absolutely absurd.
That's it.
There's no way he's only taking 6 this year. So, like, I think you can take that as a step back. My biggest thing with Haynes King is I do not believe that he will be healthy for 12 games.
That's what happened last year, right?
I'll give them 10 games with Haynes King. That's the best I can do for you. And so when I'm doing their like win total, everyone's like Georgia Tech over. I'm like, there's going to be one of those games. I mean, they lost to Tech by 2 scores without Haynes King last year.
I know. Last year was very weird for Georgia Tech because you think about them starting against Florida State and surprising everyone. They come out and they get that win.
Yeah.
And it ends, they get the Miami upset, and then it ends with that overtime crazy game against Georgia where they really should have won because they were up, going into the 4th quarter and in the 4th quarter. And so strange year. And this year, they only have 5 true home games. So how does they always have a tough schedule because they draw Georgia. They always have to play Clemson. And this year or last year, they had to play Miami. And I'm not sure. We'll get to that in a second. But Haynes King, if he stays healthy and Jamal Haynes is there and he stays healthy, Jamal Haynes has had 2,000 rush yards in his 2 seasons at Georgia Tech, 2,000 total, and almost 6 yards a carry overall. So his 20 touchdowns from scrimmage are necessary. You need these guys to be healthy. And if they are, this offense could just put up crazy numbers.
Do you know who their quarterback's coach is?
Not off the top of my head.
Close your ears, Hokies fans. Chris Weinke.
Oh, Chris Weinke. I did read that in one of the magazines.
Yeah. New defensive coordinator. Does that do anything for you? Does that change anything on this team? I don't know if it does. I'm genuinely asking, but it's something it's a bullet point.
So 2 years ago, their defense was terrible. And then last year, Tyler Santucci comes in and they are respectable. Not perfect, but respectable. And then he leaves for the Ravens. So Blake Gideon, a former safety himself or former Texas guy, comes from Texas.
Safety, I think.
Yeah. Comes from Texas. He's going to run a 4.25. And even though the defense was improved last year for Georgia Tech, they were so bad 2 years ago. So it was 72 in yards per play last year. It was 117 in 2023. 100th in opposing passer rating in 2024. So Gideon has his work to do in the back end. And they lost a lot on the front too. I mean, their D-line, there's one familiar face at least in Vandenberg, and he's good. And Stone transferred away, and I think he transferred back. They got a nose tackle from UCF, but it's not a deep group up front. Kyle Eifert is back. Very good linebacker for the Yellow Jackets. All ACC guy. Led GT in tackles the last 2 years, but he led them in only 10 games that he played last year with 64. So you're putting it on the back of Eifert to make sure that this team can compete on defense, because I think all that turnover, 2 new coordinators in 2 years, it could catch up to them.
Yeah, I think it will. However, if we're pivoting a bit to the matchup with the Hokies, this team could very well start 1-2, by the way. They start at Colorado. That's an elevation game. Starting there, that's a tough opener, right? Play Gardner-Webb, and then they host Clemson.
I'm fascinated by that Colorado game.
It's really ugly uniform game, though.
Their match. Think about their last game. They played Vandy in the bowl game. That was like the same colors.
Yeah,
and now they're playing Colorado. That's more or less the same colors.
But before they play the Hokies, they play Temple at Wake Forest, bye week, host Virginia Tech. That favors the Yellow Jackets big time. And I think if you're looking at a team where maybe their biggest wild card is their quarterback's health, I think they'll be able to rest Haynes King for that middle stretch of the season. So I think that's going to be a tough one for the Hokies.
Besides Haynes, we do need to mention Malik Rutherford, because he has 700 yards coming back. Bailey Stockton, Isaiah Canyon, they showed flashes as freshmen last year. So I really do believe that this offense is going to be good. But think about how elite their offensive line was last year. And they still only went 7-6. That offensive line will take a step back, but the offense overall, I think, will be potent. Can King stay healthy is really the question here. I'm thinking this isn't a top 50 defense. It's probably 70-ish, 75-ish again with a new coordinator. Cephas is going to have to be on his game in this one. Now, he'll have the benefit of already facing some mobile quarterbacks the first 2 weeks of the season, but we must get pressure on King. The linebackers have to play really well in this one, but I don't like going to Bobby Dodd. I believe this is a higher scoring loss for the Hokies.
Yeah, I think if Virginia Tech is going to be able to win this game, I think they are going to have to find a way to sack Haynes King, get them behind the sticks. It's not an offense that's built to deal with second and third and long. It's just not how they run. And protect Kyron Drones. Georgia Tech lost one of their best pass rushers last year off of a team that didn't have a lot of pass rushers. So this should be a clean pocket game for Kyron Drones. If they're able to throw the ball, get into a bit of, like, I don't want to say shootout, but I think it might be end up being somewhat of a shootout. You know, find your way to have this be a game in the fourth quarter, and hope that God has punished you enough and that you will finally win a close game. Like, I think that's kind of the game plan with your team, is like, let's see if we can get this to the fourth quarter and make 1 or 2 more plays than they do.
Last note on GT, former Ray Guy nominee at punter, and they have a decent kicker just to hit a special teams on one of these teams. All right, we got a bye week after GT. Let's take a beer break. Beer break bye. What are you drinking over there, Sam?
I am drinking. So I'm here. I'm in Oak Island, North Carolina with the family. And I had to go back to a Central North Carolina classic. Red Oak Bavarian Amber Lager. Red Oak is a very popular staple in Central North Carolina breweries. And this is my favorite of theirs. Had it on the golf course a couple days ago. Grabbed another 6-pack for my brother-in-law. It is really, really good. It tastes very German style beer, but a little bit of like an Irish red ale aftertaste to it. So it's got a little more complexity than a lot of your Bavarian style beers that are kind of just, you know, really crisp, really fresh. You can see kind of the cool amber color it has as well. Really good beer. Like,
so on the golf course, 4 out of 5. Well, on the golf course, was it too heavy for you, or was it a nice, just good body?
It's really light. So it's only 5%. Okay. It's really light. Definitely a beer that needs to be ice cold.
Yeah.
It needs to be ice cold to keep that crispness, but I really like it. It's a great one. And Red Oak's a really good brewery.
This is my PSA. The Oktoberfest. Did we talk about this together, or did I talk about this by myself? The Oktoberfest are going to be hitting the shelves like right now. And so when you see it in the stores, Don't get angry. This is normal. This is when it hits it. Early August is when the red ales, the Oktoberfest, they start coming out, and just grab it and save it for September. Save it for October, because sometimes those things run out or the stores turn over. But that red oak, it reminded me, Sam, that little PSA, because you might start seeing some pumpkins too, people. Don't get mad. I am drinking the other half laced in space. Yeah, I've had a bunch of other half on the pod, but I took at least a month or two off from it just to for our listeners to mix some other things in. I've been sitting on this one. I wanted to try it. You'll see it's very light in that hazy color, which I prefer. Like when I see a beer like this, Sam, I think I sent you guys one, and Irby was like, that doesn't look appetizing at all. It was like practically white in the glass. But this is a little bit more on the yellow side, and it is very good. Other half always comes correct. 8.5% laced in space. I guess they're using it's a hazy. A little bit of peach, a little bit of sweet orange, a little bit of passion fruit. That comes through. Not my favorite other half, because they make so many good beers, but I'm enjoying it. Got this from my buddy Alex. Alex, thank you very much. I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3.75. 3.75 sounds about right for this bad boy, because when I go above 8, it doesn't have to be like perfect for me to give it a good review, because I'm more of a 6.5, 7 guy.
That's one thing I do like about this is a lot of, I feel like the Irish reds and other amber lagers sometimes have a little bit more bite than you want in them, especially if they're like bourbon barrel aged or whatever. So I like that this one doesn't have that. It makes it good for summertime drinking. That's
awesome. I also really like that red oak like font they use. It's kind of similar to the Two Deep font behind me a little bit. It's got that big block lettering.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
All right, let's move to Cal. 10:24 Friday night game on ESPN, Sam, 7:30 p.m. We will be in prime time. You know, everyone's going to be tuning in to Cal, Virginia Tech, the old rivalry. But in the FPI, this is where it gets weird. 60 for Cal. SP plus 65. When it gets to the magazines, it starts to drop. You know why, Sam? Because of the human element. Athlon 77, Lindy's 100 in the country for the Cal Golden Bears. And of note, Lindy's goes to press later than Athlon. So that is probably why we're seeing that 100. Inform people kind of what's been going on at Cal.
Okay, so they were the darlings of college football for about 2 weeks last year, and then it kind of all fell apart. Mendoza, their starting quarterback, he transferred to Indiana. Their star running back and best player, Jaden Ott, transferred to Oklahoma. And then in this offseason, they also had quite the kerfuffle between their NIL collective and their athletic department. Now, their athletic department brought on a general manager, a guy named Ron Rivera, you might know as Riverboat Ron from the NFL.
Commies fans know.
Played at Cal, brought him in as a GM, but he was much more of like a figurehead GM, I think, a little bit of a puppet out there for PR. The NIL collective said, we're going to pause things until he's the actual GM and he's making decisions. Dude, and so it's not good right now. They lost a lot of players. They lost entire position groups.
I'm looking for what they. Oh, here it is. You know the anonymous things in Athlon. I pulled up the magazine. I have to read this one because it's so good.
It's a juicy one.
This is about Cal. The program is in serious trouble. Last year, they were really good on defense and they had good offensive pieces, but they lost their top linebackers and running backs in the portal. They had a bad fit for the league. They're a bad fit for the league in every way. And they're trying to break in a new offensive staff with no NIL because the boosters want to put Ron Rivera in charge of the program instead of the head coach. I'm not sure I've ever seen anything like what's happening here. And this is all before they have to start grinding it out cross country for a few more years. It's a complete mess. And Wilcox should just go DC somewhere.
Hey, damn. I'll give you some. They know how to protest in Berkeley. They've got that pat.
Yeah, so that paints a picture for everybody that it is messy right now.
It's bad. And it's like one of my notes I put down is any injury like might be a death sentence for this team's competitiveness. Like the guys that they have on their 2 deep are not going to be power conference level guys. They're just not going to. And they lost every single running back. They brought in 3 guys who were backups at their current spot. They have almost no experience on offense. So in terms of meaningful collegiate snaps, in general, meaningful collegiate snaps, they have 0 quarterbacks with meaningful collegiate snaps. They have 3 in their entire roster, 3 running backs with meaningful collegiate snaps, 1 tight end, and only 4 wide receivers. These are just snaps, like non-garbage time actual snaps.
What are you talking about? They don't have a quarterback. They brought 2 to ACC kickoff, Sam. They brought 2.
Well, Devin Brown was like 3rd string at Ohio State, didn't play. And then I haven't figured out his name yet. And I really apologize to him. His name is Jaron. We'll call him JKS. Like
stud freshman.
Stud freshman. Maybe he's a stud. I don't know. He has nothing to work with right here. This could be a really bad team.
So he was committed to Oregon at one point.
He was committed to Cal and then Oregon. And then Oregon didn't want him anymore. And then he committed back to Cal.
Because I was wondering, if you had an Oregon offer, why are you going to Cal right now? But
Oregon's weird with offers.
That's where he is. It's Sagapulutele, the high 4-star true freshman. And it's a competition. I know Devin Brown, the Ohio State guy, is probably going to end up being the starter, but JKS has a chance, very much competition. And I don't even know if we should talk about their guys, but Kendrick Raphael, the guy I mentioned from NC State, does show up in Cal. So he could be a guy who gets a lot of snaps and a lot of yards for them. Wide receiver Tron Grizzle, the only other returning guy of note. So he has his 400 yards from last year, a couple transfers and a walk-on at tight end, placing everyone on offensive line. I mean, this is one of those previews, Sam, where throw your hands up, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have some guys coming in. And Jacob DeJesus came in from UNLV. He's a playmaker. He's going to be their gadget guy, their return specialist. They're going to get him the ball. He was very fun to watch for the run and rebs. I believe Devin Brown will be the starter. I don't think you bring him in to not be the starter. And then offensive coordinator Brian Harsin.
Yeah, this is the best storyline here, because Harsin, former Auburn head coach, but him and Wilcox go back a long way. They were both very young coordinators with Boise State back in the day. So they reunite, and it's going to be a new offense. They're going to do more pro style. It's going to be run first. They're going to spread it out only when needed. But do they have any players that can pull it off? I don't know. But I think the combination of Wilcox and Harsin is actually pretty above average for your coordinators.
And I think also having Ron Rivera in the building too, like that's not a bad guy to bounce ideas off of. So like there are pieces to this program that look really good, and they do have NIL money. They just didn't want to spend it. Like there are pieces to this program that look good, and you can see what happens when they get some momentum, but they just seem to have gotten in their own way this offseason a bit. And it was unprecedented levels of transfer out. And I don't believe they backfilled it with starters. I think it's a whole team of backups right now.
I think the defense will be ahead of the offense. And because they brought back some guys there's continuity on the D-line with a lot of the names on this team are hard to pronounce, but Kianania, Burrell, and McCullough, they're all back along with some transfers. And linebacker Kedu Lave, second leading tackler on the team last year, but DB is all new. So the back end, we should be able to pass on this team. We should be able to run on this team, despite a little continuity on the defensive line. And offensively, in lane, a West Coast team coming in, we need to abuse whoever the quarterback is. We just need to get after.
Yeah. This should be a resounding win for Virginia Tech. Anything less than a multiple score win in this game is not a good performance from the Hokies. They'll take care of this. This is the type of game that Tech takes care of. I don't know if Wilcox is going to be the coach on October 24th.
Harsin could be the coach by then, right?
I think it's going to be Brian Harsin.
But Wilcox is a good coach in my head. Like I think that he has. Yeah, Cal's not the easiest place to coach, and he's done a solid job. Great defensive mind, and Harsin's a good offensive mind. So by late October, if things don't fall apart, they could be putting something together. But the depth isn't going to be there. So, and also in terms of the travel, like that little excerpt mentioned, like They have to go to Corvallis to start. They got Boston at the end of September. A 3-week span of Blacksburg, back to Berkeley for UVA, and then to Louisville. And then the rivalry game this year is at Stanford. So, and they draw SMU on top of everything else. It's not going to be a good year.
They also play Minnesota. They get them at home, but
that's a loss.
That's not fun. I think this is a transitional year.
Yeah. All right, let's move to Louisville. FPI 41, SP plus 24, Athlon 26, Lindy's 23. So if you want to ignore FPI, that average is number 25 in the country. That's where Louisville is, right on the edge of that top 25. Just a couple of guys to the draft, but one of them was quarterback Tyler Shuck. The 7-year veteran gets drafted by the Saints. They lost Gillette to the NFL, and they lost a cornerback as well. This is the first year for Brom where the portal wasn't as kind as it has been.
Yeah, I agree. This is a program that I think wants to be like portal heads, and it didn't work for them this cycle. There's plenty of talent on this roster, though, but I don't think there's the wave of incoming talent like we've seen the last couple of years.
But with that being said, I think we both agree that the quarterback is more talented than the last two guys.
Yeah. I think Miller Moss is a significant upgrade over Shuck.
And that it's so funny because you think about what Jeff Brom has done with quarterbacks, with Plummer and with Shuck. And then you bring in a guy with like Miller Moss, who got benched at USC. Let's not sugarcoat it. He got benched, but he is super talented. He can make any throw. He lit up Louisville and Brom 2 years ago in the Holiday Bowl, threw 6 touchdowns. I didn't realize also that he was at USC for 4 seasons.
Yeah, he'd been there a while, and that's a lot of time under Lincoln Riley. Like, he's had some great offensive coaches. Holy crap.
Yeah. Only 1 year as a starter, which was last year. And I just think that like with what Louisville did the last 2 years in the ACC, you look at Jeff Brom there. He's 19-8, 12-4 in the ACC. After being, above 500 and a good coach at Purdue, he has come to Louisville and been very successful. And I guess 3 out of 4 of their losses last year, Sam, were very reasonable. Notre Dame, SMU, Miami. But then there was that Stanford game, which made like zero sense. And Louisville was number 19 at the time, and they lost to Stanford. 4 one-score losses combined throughout those games.
They also did only win by 4 at UVA and only 4 at Boston College. So it was not a good spell of play for them in that like middle 5 or 6 games of the season.
They have a tendency to kind of play with their food a bit.
Yeah.
You look at that UVA game and that BC game for sure. And of course, Stanford, like they should have whipped. We went to Stanford and killed them. Like Louisville should have won that game easily.
Yep.
And so last year, like weird year, still a good year, but they didn't beat the best of the best. They had some slip ups, but they were still good. They beat Clemson by 2 scores. That was like that was their best game of the season. I mean, they killed Clemson, but they ran the ball really well throughout the year. 5.65 yards per carry was 8th nationally. They were 5th in yards per play as a team last year. This offense with Tyler Shuck, that journeyman quarterback, was amazing. What could Miller Moss do with some of those young running backs that are coming up?
He could hand the ball off to him and screen pass to him and swing pass to him. Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, really, really good young running backs. They also get Colin Lacey back at wide receiver, who was very productive for them, was hurt most of last year, or all of last year, maybe.
He was productive for South Alabama.
Yes.
And then he was hurt in training camp, I think. And then he was able to get a red shirt last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good player, though. That's going to be a big boost to them. Offensively, I think this team's going to be really good. I think it's going to be better than last year. I might put them as best offense in the ACC.
Oh, like they're going to light it up.
Numbers wise,
Chris Bell too. Chris Bell, like he went to ACC kickoff as one of the representatives. 737 yards receiving on only 43 catches. He was averaging over 17 yards of reception. And so with him and Lacey, Meeks, and Collins comes over from NC State. Yeah, they're kind of refurbishing their tight end room, but the offensive line has been good for Brom the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
They lost 3 starters, a couple guys after spring, but I still think there's enough there on the offensive line that they will be decent. And with those two freshman running back, I think both of them were freshmen last year. And so Brown went for 1,100, 600 for Watson. And then there's another Brown in Kewan Brown. So they've got this like stable of young running backs. This offense is going to be so potent, dude. And I was shocked that they were fifth last year, like fifth in the country.
So my very like biggest in terms of like penmanship note I wrote was bet the over with 4 exclamation marks, because as good as I think this offense is going to be, a little worried about the defense. They were not a good defense last year. They lost their best pass rusher. I think teams are going to be able to throw all over Louisville. And again, it's one of these teams where it's like, where did they bring the transfers in for them? It wasn't big programs. They brought them in from Southern, Florida International, Jacksonville State, Louisiana. Yep. I think I'm a little bit worried about this defense, and I'm looking at their schedule. Like that,
well, the schedule. There's some good things
to the
about
season.
It.
There's some good things about it, but like I do see a world where they are sitting at, what is it? I see them sitting at like 8-1 in the college football playoff conversation. And then they go Clemson at SMU, Kentucky, which has always been a tough game for them. Obviously it's their rival, but I'm closing my eyes and I'm thinking about college football, and like, that's the team that is right there and then falls apart in November for me and finishes like 9-3.
I'll give just a couple thoughts on the defense, and then I want to address that schedule thing, because on D-line, their cupboard isn't bare, but there is no Galette on this team, literally and figuratively. But they have guys at defensive tackle. They went to the portal for some new ends. They have some depth. 4 of their top 6 tacklers are back. That's mostly in the back end. That's Clark, Quinn, Watts, Capers. Like, that's a good linebacking group. DB, completely rebuilt with portal guys, and cornerback is a concern. So the shootout thing, the over thing that you're talking about, yeah, I'm with you on that, because they weren't good against the pass last year in terms of opposing passer rating. They were 87th, and they've got concerns on the outside. But their schedule has 8 home games, Sam. 8. That is only the second time in their history they've had 8 home games. And so they get Clemson at home. They get Kentucky at home. The non-con is very manageable, even with the Kentucky game and playing JMU. It's very manageable. VT in Blacksburg. That's of note, because this is the first time this has happened since the ACC gained Louisville. We have not hosted them yet.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane.
It's been a decade.
I mean, I feel like we've played at Louisville 3 times. It's the same thing with
at
Florida
least
State.
twice.
Like, I feel like we're always playing in Tallahassee. We'll get to that game next. But yeah, I think this is a tough matchup for Virginia Tech, considering that defensive back is one of the question marks. We'll know a lot more about the Hokies by this time, but like, matchup wise, I don't love this for Virginia Tech.
No, I mean, it's a tough matchup. It's Jeff Brom. Their lines of scrimmage will both take a step back from a year ago, but that step back might not be as much as we need it to be. I mean, just getting rid of Galette alone is really good, because he killed us 2 years ago. I don't know if you're, that was a horrible game.
And one thing, go on.
No, I was going to say they should still be good in the run game, both offensively and defensively. Like, they're going to be good running the football. They're going to be good defending the run. And so that is something I expect us to be a strength. And so it worries me for the matchup.
Yeah. And Jeff Brom's offense, he will do whatever is necessary to hurt the defense. If he needs to run the ball up the middle 40 times like they did when Tech last played at Louisville, they'll do that. If they need to throw the ball around, they'll do that. If they need to spread it out, they'll do that. So for a Virginia Tech defense that I don't think will be particularly strong at everything, I think there are going to be some weaknesses on this defense. Jeff Brom is the type of coach who will, like, he'll do the video game thing where he spams the same play until you stop it. Yeah. And I worry about that a little bit with Tech.
That worked well against Marv. Will it work against Coach Sam Seifkes?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I think that we need a vintage Virginia Tech defensive performance in order to win this one. I think we'll put up points, but I think Tech probably loses a close one against Louisville.
Yeah.
All right, another buy here, which gives me a chance to tell you guys to go to compasscoffee.com. They are one of our sponsors, and they have 16 locations in DC and Northern VA. They're becoming the go-to cup of joe in the DC region. When I was there, they just started to blow up, started hitting DC, hitting Nova, and now like they're everywhere. You can use code 2DVT either at checkout in person or online to get 20% off your first order from them. And I would recommend it. Their coffee is fantastic. They'll deliver right to your door if you're not in that region. So go to compasscoffee.com or use the Compass app and use code 2DVT for 20% off. Compass Coffee, great coffee, doesn't have to be complicated. We're moving here, Sam. We're an hour in. We've got a couple more teams to go. Can we do these next 3 teams 10 minutes each? Florida State. We're going to Tallahassee yet again.
I mean, we got to get a timeshare in Tallahassee.
We're coming off a bye when we head down there. It's 11:15 is the date of the game, November 15th. FPI 48, SP Plus 36, Athlon 45, Lindy's 37. After being 2-10 last year, yes, Florida State went 2-10 and 1-7 in the ACC. It's kind of hard to like how did these magazines come up with this top 40, top 50 ranking?
I don't know. I really don't. And it's like, I can't argue that it's wrong, No, because you look at their talent level
2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you look at their talent level and you're like, yeah, they should probably be like an 8-win team. And I don't know, man. Culturally, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Again, they are almost like relying entirely on transfers. I mean, they brought in 4 transfers on the offensive line alone that are going to need to play.
I know they brought in a transfer quarterback.
And they brought in Thomas Castellanos, who like, dude, if Castellanos doesn't hit, he's gone. Norvell's gone, because that'd be the second straight quarterback who there is film of them not being very good at a power conference level that you bring on. Yeah. I mean, Castellanos was one of the most overrated quarterbacks in all of college football last season. I mean, he was talked about so much, and then he gets on the field and he doesn't look good at all. So I'm really questioning that his job is on the line and that's who he's going with.
Well, I think what he liked, Norvell, that is, about Castellanos is that Castellanos played really well against Florida State 2 years in a row. On their undefeated season, I think the closest call they had was against BC.
College. That's true.
And then last year, BC went down there and beat them. Mm-hmm. So, yes, Florida State had a nightmare 2024. It started bad in Ireland, got worse and worse, 2-10. And the win against Cal was a 14-9 win. They
never scored more than 21 points.
It's crazy. So they have to get 2 new coordinators, right? Norvell has to burn the thing down. They bring in Gus Malzahn, who surprisingly left UCF, and they get DC Tony White from Nebraska. He's going to put in a 3-3-5. And everything, what's nuts is like everything was trending up for Norvell and Florida State. They had 10 wins. Then they went undefeated and won the ACC. And then it was just a nosedive. And that is the roulette spin that you play when you rely so heavily on the portal and not enough on high school recruiting.
With the level of talent that is outside their doorstep, it's really shocking that this is how they've decided to go about building their roster. This is one of the programs in college football. Mm-hmm. And I'm just really confused at the last 16 months of Mike Norvell.
When I was going the big picture and I'm looking in there, I'm like 20-20 in ACC play. That's what Norvell is at 20-20. Mm-hmm. If he did not have the buyout that he got after 13-0, which it does deserve the recognition it deserves. Like, you should recognize it's really hard to go undefeated and win a conference title. And Norvell did it. But 20-20 in ACC play over 5 years, I mean, there is no way you should be working for Florida State. If he didn't have a buyout, he would be gone. Like, he would absolutely be gone.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Looking a bit to the matchup here, that 3-3-5 defense can be a little tricky. They can do some fun things with blitzes. You can run the ball up the middle all over them. Think back to that Big 12 title game between Arizona State and Iowa State last year. Iowa State, one of the founding fathers of the 3-3-5 defense. Arizona State just ran up the middle, then play actioned on them when they brought the safeties down. So it is a scheme that you can power run against if you're willing to do that for 60 minutes. So it'll be an interesting game for the Hokies. schematically.
Well, let me talk about that running thing for a second, because Darrell Jackson Jr. is probably their highest NFL talent on the team.
Yeah.
He's their gigantic nose tackle. He's 6'5", 337. That's what he's listed as.
That's big.
he's
big.
probably a day 2 pick in the NFL draft, as long as he doesn't have a terrible season. But he hasn't lived up all the way to his talent yet, and he's still probably going to get drafted. That big fat nose tackle sitting there, that can stuff up your run lanes, man.
Yeah.
that is what I'm worried about.
And that's what they're banking on, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons that they feel a little bit of optimism with this defense getting better. But I think the key to this game is the schedule. Hokies coming off a bye, Florida State going to Clemson the week before.
Yeah, that's good for us. And you know what else is good for us? 2024 Tommy Castellanos, because he was terrible last year. But the issue with Castellanos, and we need to talk about this, is that he was good under Hafley when allowed to run the football. He ran for 1,100 yards as a quarterback in 2023. And then last year, I mean, Bill O'Brien went in there and said, I'm taking away your legs. And he ran for under 200 yards. I mean, he had 11 touchdowns rushing to 1 touchdown rushing in a 1-year span. Like, so I know he's been taking heat because he talks shit on Alabama, and that's not a good thing to do. They play Alabama game 1. It's probably going to end badly for him.
Yeah.
But he has talent. There's a reason he was one of the best up and coming quarterbacks a couple years ago when he was using his legs and playing well. So Gus Malzahn will get the best out of him. We know Gus can use a running quarterback. I think back to Nick Marshall. Like, Nick Marshall couldn't throw at all, and he made him amazing. So
yeah,
that's something I think I'm watching.
That's what they're banking on. And we'll know so much more about these teams when we get to that game. I think it's, again, another one of these teams that, like, Virginia Tech just only plays them on the road. I don't know how it happens, but I
think it ends up being like kind of a coin flippy game, right? I do think we can win the game, but it's on the road. It's Florida State. The talent is there. If Usman Chroma, the running back who's coming out of high school, like, if he ends up being their stud at running back because they don't know what they're doing, then they could be really, really good. But we just don't know. The offensive line is all. I didn't even want to go into like sack numbers and offensive line numbers because, like, it's all new. Herb Hand comes in with Gus. It's all new. So we'll see what happens down in Tallahassee. There's potential for Hokie W, but it's questionable. Let's talk about Miami, Sam. Senior Day in Blacksburg. We all know what happened last year. The crazy game that came down to the final play where the call got put into the ACC offices in Charlotte, and they overturned the call, and we lose. I'm fuming. I can't go to sleep. It is what it is. But this year, Miami comes back with just as much talent. FPI number 9, SP plus 12, Athlon 10, Lindy's 10. We just saw the coaches poll, also 10. So this is what people think about Miami. They think they're a top 10 team. Despite losing 7 draftees to the NFL, despite losing the number 1 overall pick in Cam Ward, they went to the portal. They're 5th in On3's net portal rating. They have the best offensive line maybe in the country, but probably in the ACC. Yeah. So it's a scary prospect to face this team. But you know what, Sam? All the guys they had last year, we played them to the whistle a year ago. Yeah. So why can't we do it again?
I mean, I think you definitely can. And this game being in Blacksburg is in November, late November, is such a huge X factor. Like, I think you are hoping for this game to be 25 degrees and windy. I really do. Now, Miami's going to be able to run the ball. So let's they do have good running backs. They have a very good offensive line. So I think they're a little more built for that than like the Ja'Cory Harris type Miami teams, or like, I have a hard time. I mean,
what Mario does.
Yeah. I mean, what Mario, like, I have a hard time believing they're the same old Miami that always underachieves. Like, they won 10 games last year.
They won 10 games last year for only the second time since 2003. Like Mario, for as all the criticism that he took for bad in-game management, the kneel down game and everything else. 10 games at Miami is not something that's happened hardly at all in 2 decades, almost 3 decades. The only other time was Mark Richt in 2017. So he's doing something right. He's built up the lines, and they were 9-0 going into that Georgia Tech game. Now, they had flirted with Cal. They flirted with us. They were getting by the skin of their teeth.
Yep.
But they ended up losing, and then they got knocked out of the ACC title race, and they got knocked out of the playoff by losing at Syracuse when they were up 21 points, which I found very, very funny. But it wasn't good for the ACC overall.
No, and that's my biggest note on this team, because we know they're super talented. They have Carson Beck on defense. Ruben Bain Jr. is an NFL guy off the edge. But last year, they only beat Tech by 4, only beat Cal by 1, beat Louisville by 7. But if you're a national title team, you should beat Louisville by more than 7. And then it fell apart for them at the end of the year. Does Tech get them when it falls apart, or does Tech get them when they have the golden horseshoe?
Right. Well,
that's I think what this game comes up to.
It does. The $4 million man, Carson Beck.
Jeez.
Are you expecting, and this is, that's NIL rumor money, but it's probably what he got.
It's probably not far off.
Yeah. He's healthy, reportedly, and looking good, according to everything we're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Not an elite year last year for him, but 145 passer rating, 12th best QBR in the country, very close to Cade Klubnik, against a tough SEC slate. And at a year ago, 2023, for a UGA, 7th in QBR. He was amazing, 167 passer rating. So I think I'm of the opinion that Beck is maybe not even given the hype that he deserves. I think he could be really, really good for this team. Now, they have to replace a lot, and there's no Restrepo, there's no George, there's no Horton, but Miami has talent in the ranks. JoJo Trader has been talking about it. Ray Joseph, JoJo and Ray. We'll see what those guys have. But Malachi Toney, the true freshman, Keelan Marion comes over from BYU. They have enough that if Beck can hand it off to the 2 good running backs, and Fletcher and Jordan Lyle and even Shamar Brown, who comes from NDSU, this offense could pick up right where it left off.
It could. I don't think they'll be 44 points a game or whatever they were last year, but it'll be good.
That's true. Yeah.
And then I think
it was the number 1 offense in the country last year, right?
Yeah. And then defensively, I think they have to be a little bit better. I don't picture them getting worse. And so, again, this is one of those, what Miami team shows up. Now, something I think is really interesting with the Hurricanes this year is the start of their season. They have in the first month of the season, they have Notre Dame and they have Florida.
Yeah.
If those are 2 very losable games.
Well, I was going to ask you this. What's the more winnable game for Miami? Notre Dame or Florida?
I'm going to go Florida at home.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, they get Florida at home. I think that's more winnable. I mean, my question just is, if they lose both of those, let's say they lose both of those games and they start 2-2. What kind of mentality does Miami have going throughout the season?
Historically,
not a good one.
Not a good one. And
not a good one. They're a very streaky program.
I'm very curious as to what Corey Heatherman, the defensive coordinator that is coming over from Minnesota, what he gets out of Ruben Bain and Mesidor, because those guys are monsters. I mean, it's not as if they've been bad, but Bain has not always been healthy. Yeah. But they're getting an upgrade in terms of DC, in my opinion. And so with the linebackers, you got Basanthe, or is that how you say it? Basanth? He'll carry the flag for that.
I believe so, yes.
Second in tackles last year. Mo Torrey. Do you remember Mo Torrey from Rutgers? He's on Miami now.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking at their roster.
Tore his ACL or whatever it was.
They've
got
stacks.
Guys. Yeah, I know. They got six new guys in the secondary, but some good transfers. I guess Frederic is back. But that start to the season, you're right. That is going to tell us so much. They can win the Notre Dame game, but I just think new quarterback. Well, I guess new quarterbacks for both teams. How much do you believe in Marcus Freeman versus how much do you believe in the job Mario Cristobal has done.
I
I'm
where's that
laughing,
game
but
being?
like he has built up. Like Mario has done such a good job building these lines up. Like that offensive line, they could come out and just mow Notre Dame down for 2 hours. Like I don't know how it's going to go.
Dude, they are one of the biggest question marks in college football this year for me.
Yeah.
I think. So this game is being played the Notre Dame game is being played in Miami. And so I think that is a big thing because they are a team that does play well in big games at home.
They do. They get a good crowd.
And they get Notre Dame and Florida.
Well, Notre
Those are
Dame's
both
going to have a lot of guys there too. They're going to have a lot of fans there too.
Yeah, but I mean they get Notre Dame at home, they get Florida at home, they get Louisville at home, they get NC State at home. And then they travel at Virginia Tech at Pitt. Pete, it is written in the stars.
And of note, 7 straight weeks of conference opponents for Miami to end the season without a bye.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I mean, they have a bye between Florida State and Louisville, and then they're going.
Do you remember what Chase said in our chat last night too? That Miami doesn't go above like the Mason-Dixon line until not the Mason-Dixon line. What was it? They don't go outside of Florida.
No,
or something?
They don't travel further north than Dallas until they play at Virginia Tech.
That's what it was. Yes.
Like
so that is the first game, November 22nd in Blacksburg when what's their record, right? Like, do they have 1 loss? Do they have 2 losses? It won't matter. Hopefully they're top 25 and they come to Blacksburg and we have a chance to not only get revenge for last year, but ruin any odds of them going to the playoff for this year.
I think Tech wins one of Louisville, Miami. Which one do you think is more likely? Or which one would you bank on now? Because right now, in my head, they're both like 50-50. You're banking Miami?
Because it's the rivalry. It's like we get up from Miami. Last year, Miami was Kyron's best game, probably. Like he was, and it was probably because he's going against his cousin in Cam Ward. But he feels what happened last year against Miami. Yeah. He knows it. And I love the spot, as you indicated. Like, I love the spot. I love the chance to take them down. We've lost 8 out of 10 to them. We are a little bit due. We haven't beat them since 2019, Sam. So let's spoil their season. And then they got to go to Pitt. Maybe they'll catch another loss. But, yeah, the Miami game it's one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. I'm hoping to go. It's the week before UVA, late in the year, but I'm hoping to go because I think it could be a magical night for Brent Pry. If he's still there.
If he's still there. I mean,
I'm making a joke because of what the cover 3 said about Pry being fired by the time this happens.
Yeah, it's oddly enough, like I don't want to predict that quite, but like this could be a game where it's like you're not expected to win this game, but you better win it type thing. Like,
here's a great question.
You might want to win this one.
I'm getting giddy thinking about this. Who do you have more positivity, more optimism for winning the game? Brent Pry, head coach with a full staff, JC Price, interim head coach.
Brent Pry with a full staff. I think if you're an interim head coach and you have that Miami roster coming to play, you're going to beat by 30.
Yeah, potentially, but JC hates Miami. I mean, that's like
he does.
He knows
JC's
the rivalry
not playing in the game though.
I know. But he did get us the win at UVA a couple years back, and that felt good.
Well, let's talk about UVA.
Let's talk about them. 11-29. It's always after Thanksgiving. You're always the most bloated you've ever been when this thing shows up. And oftentimes, Sam, we need this to get to a bowl game.
Too often.
Let's hope it's not the case this year. FPI 63, better than I would have expected. SP Plus 79, Athlon 69, and Lindy's 73. That averages about to a 70 in the country for UVA. They were 5-7 last year, 3-5 in the ACC, and their NFL losses include Sanker in the 3rd round, who was a stud for them. Really, like their whole defense a couple years ago. Portal losses, they did well. Like they did really well in the portal. They're 26th in the on-3 portal rankings. They grabbed 3 pretty good offensive linemen The problem, those offensive linemen have been getting hurt.
Yep, that's one of them. I have a little bit mixed feelings about their transfer portal class. So my model ranked them pretty high, all the way up at 23rd in net. But they lost a lot of guys, and I'm blanking on it. I don't have it written down, but who's the wide receiver they lost to Notre Dame?
Malachi Fields.
Malachi Fields, thank you. That's a big loss for them.
Yeah.
They brought in guys. They brought in Jamal Edgerrin from Purdue, Jaden Thomas. They brought him in from Notre Dame. And then they brought in Jamari Taylor from NC Central, who a $400,000 man. Congratulations!
That was the guy, right? Like that's the guy
Yep.
that we got in trouble for.
Congratulations! Can have a nice house on like Rugby Road or whatever it is. Congratulations. I think their team got a lot better in the offseason. Like I think Chandler Morris is by far the best quarterback that Tony Elliott has had at UVA. Is he a great quarterback? No. And I think a lot of his numbers were inflated playing in the American Conference that had god awful defenses last year.
Yeah.
But he's much better than Tony Muskett, and he's probably better than Anthony Calandria.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you look at where he finished in QBR, like I looked at his numbers, 3,700 passing yards, and then I looked at the QBR, 74th in the country.
Yeah, like I don't want to be
QBR
that guy,
counts
like,
for opponent.
Watch the games.
Yeah,
you watch the games, and it's that American defense. I would say the same thing for Darian Mensah coming from Tulane to Duke.
Yeah, the Tulsa game, for example, Chandler Morris, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Tulsa was terrible on defense, like absolutely dreadful. Let me say this about Chandler Morris. My buddy was at a wedding. His girlfriend or somebody is related to Chad Morris, and he took a picture with Chandler Morris at the wedding. And my buddy's Ryan is a diehard Hokie, so I thought that was funny. But in all seriousness, Chandler, I think we're going to beat the shit out of him if he's still playing at this point in the season. Because that's the thing. What happens with the UVA game? We always have better depth than them. And so by the time this matchup, this is the reason we're so successful against them. By the time this matchup comes around, they're always beat up. They're always missing guys. And we're missing guys too, but we have better depth. And so we're always at an advantage when we play UVA. And I'm hoping it happens again this year. I do think he is their best quarterback in a while, but their biggest problem the past 2 years, and everybody knows it, is the line. Like the line has been so bad. They're 115th in tackles for loss allowed last year.
Yeah, and it's not a position that they recruit very well at all. And overall recruiting for them over the last 2 classes, so I take the player rating from a bunch of different services over the last 2 classes. I have them at 64th in the country. So this is not a team that recruits very well. They're very reliant on the transfer portal right now to be able to give themselves some power. But if they go to their too deep, drink, it's not good. And that is what has killed them the last few years. They did get a really good offensive line transfer. The kid from Louisville, for blanking on his name.
Yeah, well, that's the kid that got hurt.
Yeah.
He got hurt in spring, and they're
having it. Monroe Mills.
Yeah, Monroe Mills.
He got hurt, and there's a big void on that offensive line. And they don't have anybody to backfill it.
Thomas got hurt too. The right tackle. He just got hurt too. So when I was listening to the summer school with them, their beat reporter was summer school is always positive, right? It's never going to be too negative, but they felt good about where their offensive line was going. And they bring in a few transfers. They have 2 returning starters. I was not convinced then. And after hearing some of the injury stuff, like I'm even more not convinced now. So despite getting Trell Harris and Cameron Courtney, like that, they think he's going to step up. Xavier Brown returns at running back. Jamari Taylor, like you said, the NC. There are some pieces here, but if the line is not better, they're gonna struggle. Like they're just gonna struggle. And as a Tech fan, I love it. But the optimism for UVA and Tony Elliott, like it's dead and stinking up there, man. Like he's going to be on the hot seat. Like he already is. If he's not, like they've lost what
His record is 11-23.
Right, 11-23. They lost 6 of their last 7 after beating up on some bad teams early last year. And I know UVA doesn't care as much about football as we do, although sometimes that's hard to tell. But we care a lot more than them, and so they don't fund it properly. But they had that big donation after spring, and they were doing stuff. This is the reason the portal thing was better. So maybe there is some hope. Like their defense has tended to be respectable over the years as opposed to the offense. Last year, not so much. Last year, the defense, it was 100th in just about everything. Yeah. They bring back a couple defensive linemen. Cam Robinson is back. Cam Robinson is good, right? Like he's a do-it-all linebacker. James Jackson is back. But with Sanker gone and only Clary, I guess there's There's James Jackson and there's Jam Jackson, but Clary's good. But everyone else in the back end is so green. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
They have a bye week. The week we're playing Miami, so maybe that helps them out.
Yeah, it is weird. They get a bye week right before they play Tech. That might help them out a bit. And I should say, we have, throughout this podcast, we talked about bye weeks being a positive thing. There's not a lot of evidence that teams are better or worse after a bye week.
It's true.
So I'd put that in there on the positive side and the negative side. I mean,
Tell me about the matchup. Tell me the schedule. Go ahead.
I mean, the schedule's a cakewalk for them. I don't think you could draw up an easier power conference schedule for them. Matchup wise, I think Virginia Tech can dominate the line of scrimmage in this game. Maybe to the level of Wake Forest and Cal. I think they can. Chandler Morris has a little bit of X factor in his game. I'm not going to say the quarterback's name because he's not nearly that dynamic, but he's got a little bit more of that playmaking with a little less
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's not too Bryce Perkins. He's not at that level, but he's got a little bit of that in his game. He also has a little bit of, what do they call him on cover 3? The Oopsie Daisy King, Anthony Calandria. Not that bad, but he's got a little bit of that as well. I just don't think he has great weapons around him. The offensive line continues to be a question mark, and I don't think this is going to be a stout defense by any means. Tech should win this game. They're the better team in almost every single facet.
Was Chandler Morris empty calories last year? That's kind of how I wrote it down, but I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
the advanced stuff says yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I still think he's an upgrade though. And I think if Tony Elliott doesn't get 6 wins with this schedule and a 7th year quarterback, then he doesn't need to be coaching college football.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty easy decision for them at the end of the season, whether to keep him or get rid of him.
Their defense could improve slightly if the linebackers stay healthy. But you're still talking about the 75th, 80th best defense in the country. Even if they improve in multiple categories, and the game is in Charlottesville. Let's make that known. But that is Lane Stadium North. That is an extra home game for us. And so I feel good about us winning. Does UVA with that schedule, and I want to point this out about the schedule. They're going to Washington State. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's I mean, so I think weird. Washington State's not going to be good, but that's a weird one.
But do they go bowling? Does UVA go bowling?
I'm going to say, yeah, I think they go 6-6.
Okay.
And I think they're at 6-5 when they play the Hokies.
It comes down to the Wake and the Stanford game for them. Do they go 2-0 in those games? Because they probably need both to make sure they feel good about a bowl.
I'll give them Coastal, William & Mary, Stanford, Wazoo, Cal, Wake.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems right. All right, so final ACC record for the Hokies, Sam, and then we're going to give our first record prediction of the season for the Hokies right after our ACC prediction. So 8 ACC games. We just went through all of the teams. What is your ACC prediction record?
5-3.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. And the reason being, for me, GT is a loss. I'm counting that as a loss. And then I think we get 2 losses of the 3 to Florida State, Miami, and Louisville.
Yep. That's
so
what
we'll win one of those games, but I think we're losing 2.
That's almost exactly what I got. If I had to name them,
yeah, it's hard to
I
name.
think I agree with you that it's Florida. I could see it being I could see NC State being one of them.
Yeah, no,
I could
absolutely.
see it being.
It's a road game in Raleigh.
I could, but 5-3 is where I'm landing at.
I think 5-3 feels right because you could also lose to NC State and win the Georgia Tech game.
Yep.
All right. So overall, give me one. Just all I want is one. Overall record for the Hokies. This is August 6th.
Mm-hmm.
This is our first record prediction. We will give another record prediction when we do our season preview later in the month.
8-4.
The group think is strong. I'm 8-4 as well.
I've been 7-5 since like February. And the thing that I'm coming back on is at some point, these close wins are going to turn. Like the close games are going to turn. And I think like that's what takes Tech to that 8-win range is like 2 one-score wins that last year they would have lost.
Well, here's
it's scary though. It's scary to predict that.
I think 3 months ago I might have said 7-5. Fortunately, we didn't. I don't think we do that. But I really believe that we got the right offensive and defensive coordinators for what this team needs right now. Like I really do believe that. The more I hear and Kyron's health and all this stuff, I just feel like we're going to go 8-4. And that would be great. Like honestly, 7-5, whatever. But like if you go 8-4 the year after the year when everyone was doubting you and you get, which means you got one of Vandy and South Carolina, you won your 2 should win games, and then you went 5-3. That is a good season. Like that is a good season. Brent Pry said his vision is getting there. Like it would make sense if his vision is getting there for us to be 8-4. And so I feel good about that. We just need to have nailed those hires. Like all of the hires, not just OC and DC. We need to have nailed Ferg. We need to have nailed Matt Moore as well.
I think that's one thing too that took me from 7-5 to 8-4 was I've heard from multiple people who've been at practice and been around the program the last few weeks that have said this team looks significantly more physically imposing than they did last year. People who have been on the field for multiple years. They said it looks bigger, it looks faster, it looks stronger. I think that takes Tech and to a little bit of the next level. Combine that with winning some close games. The jump from 6-6 to 8-4 with this schedule is really not much.
It wasn't much last year.
No, it wasn't. I mean, you're talking about like 3 plays.
Yeah,
in total.
I mean, we saw
it's not much. It's not much.
Well, this was really fun, Sam. I can't believe how much information we just went through in that podcast. But if you stuck with us to the end, you mentioned the term kerfluffle earlier.
Kerfuffle?
Kerfuffle.
I got to be honest.
Not fluffle.
I don't know how to spell the word kerfuffle.
It's a hard one to spell, but that's going to be the word if you stuck with us to the end to put in the chat on YouTube. I always thought a good name, like I like the rivalry names, like the old wooden bucket, and like you know how like there's so many rivalry games, especially in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought one for us versus BC because we used to play them every year was the bare knuckle kerfluffle or fuffle, whatever it is.
Kerfluffle now.
Bare knuckle kerfuffle. Because like that game was always like a rock fight. And but anyway, put kerfuffle. We need to look up. This is I got the silly. I got the sillies right now, man. But anyway, that's what 2 pounders will do to you over an hour, I guess, at this late age of my career. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, 2DVT, on X, 2DVT. If you don't already follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, please do that. And of course, subscribe to the Sons of Saturday channel on YouTube. Did you find what you were looking for over there?
Yes, Kerfuffle.
Fuffle. Yeah. Nice. Not fluff Boffwell. It's
Yes, yeah, not
it's
fluff Boffwell.
Fuffle. All right. And until next time, when we are gonna be talking to Mark Packer. I believe that's our next episode.
The
Sam.
legend himself.
Next Tuesday. Go Hokies.
Go Hokies.